Times now. Thank you for joining us. The sensational Sheena Bora murder case has hit the headlines again. 12 years after the alleged murder, the case is back to the limelight with an appalling twist in the crime, which will shock you completely. During a hearing in the case before the CBI special court, the prosecution has claimed that the skeletal remains that allegedly belong to the 24-year-old Sheena Bora, they have gone missing. Public prosecutor C.J. Nandode informed the special CBI court that the bones allegedly belonging to Sheena Bora could not be located despite a thorough search. What is interesting here is that this piece of evidence is crucial for forensic analysis. These remains were recovered by Mumbai's Pen police station. As per the cops, as per police, Sheena was killed, burnt and buried at a spot in Maharashtra's Raigad district. Viewers, let us give you context of how this revelation came to the fore. CBI court was recording statement of 91st witness in this case, Dr. Zeba Khan. Khan is the same forensic expert who had examined the remains at the time of the crime. She had certified that the remains were that of a human. Prosecutor Nandode wanted to show that remains to the forensic expert to authenticate if the same was examined by her. During the proceedings, the CBI prosecutor told the court that 2 packets containing the remains were untraceable even after the search. He also added that the articles had to be shown to the forensics expert. Now the court has adjourned hearing, giving time for the missing evidence to be traced. On the other hand, Indrani Mukerjea's lawyer considers this a big advantage for his client. Indrani, as you know, is out on bail since May 2022. Let's bring in Indrani's lawyer. We have Ranjeet Sangle joining us. Mr. Sangle, thank you for speaking to Times Now. This is an interesting twist. I mean, I am really at a loss of words. I don't know what to make of it. What was your first reaction when you came to know about this? When CBI told the special court that the bones and the skeletal remains allegedly of Sheena Bora have gone missing?
Honestly, we were shocked and surprised. Primarily because this is the Central Bureau of Investigation that we are talking about. The CBI is India's premier and independent investigating agency, right? So in view of this, a blunder like this will go to the root of the entire prosecution that they are trying to establish the guilt of my client, Ms. Indrani Mukerjea. One. Secondly, most importantly, this has to be seen from 3 angles. One, from the investigation point of view, this goes to the root of the credibility of the investigating agency. From the prosecution point of view, this creates a major hole in the prosecution case of the size of a lunar crater, right? Why? Because unless and until these articles or these remains are confronted to the witness in the chief examination and the witness identifies them that these are the same ones that the witness had examined and subsequently given a report in respect of, right? They won't be considering it into evidence. That is the second part. And from the defense perspective, the third angle, from the defense perspective, it is definitely our job to take advantage of all the loopholes that are created in the prosecution case, because in common law or the Indian legal parlance, it is the guilt that has to be established beyond all reasonable doubts. Till then, it is presumption of innocence of the accused. In view of this, every instance that the prosecution or the investigating agency fails, it becomes an advantage of the defense. Now, how do we take a legal advantage of this particular situation?
You know, you are calling it a loophole. This is much more than that.
Right? This is a big flaw that will give a major setback to the prosecution case. And especially in light of this, we do not have any doubt that Ms. Indrani Mukerji...
Mr. Sangle, let me ask you this. You are calling it a loophole, and if this is indeed a loophole, it has to be a crater-sized loophole. This is an incredible twist to the already, murky case and even murkier probe. Many would call it a watershed moment in this case because the alleged murder takes place in 2012. The case surfaces, comes to public knowledge in 2015. So over the years, there have been many twists and turns. This is the most incredible one.
I'm glad that you asked this question because nobody is venturing on this ankle. See, you cannot look at this from an isolated point of view. For establishing the 2015 case, you will have to go back to the 2012 case. Why do we think that this is a significant development? Is because the investigating agency and the prosecution has to establish that the remains that have gone missing, right, were the remains of the 2015 body that was exhumed under the orders of the Honorable Court, or are the remains from the 2012 body. Okay, now it is come on record, and if you've seen yesterday, Dr. Sudhir Gupta from the then AIIMS board has stated that the police had given them two bodies. Right, one was of 2012 and one was of 2015, and he's also mentioned in the flow of that moment,
right,
that these two bodies belong to two different persons or individuals. This is not one and the same body. So now the CBI has to establish, or the prosecution has to establish, that the remains that have gone missing were of 2012 body or 2015 body. Consequently, the prosecution now has got a greater burden to establish that their allegation that the body belonged to Sheena Bora. Which body belonged to Sheena Bora? The 2012 body or the 2015 body? Now, understand this. If they say that the 2012 remains of the body that was discovered by Pain Police is Sheena Bora's body, then the entire story, the botched up story of the 2015 body,
you're calling it a botched up story,
because the DNA analysis, which we have already proven was fabricated report, the DNA report was fabricated
report.
That entire story goes for a toss, because if you remember, the driver Shamvar Rai was arrested, shown that there was a recovery of a pistol, and then that entire humbug story was created in order to extract from him an admission or a confession in respect of the alleged murder case. Right, now that is a total botched up story again that they have created. However, if the prosecution and the investigating officers now maintain that the body or the remains that were exhumed in 2015 were belonging to Sheena Bora,
okay,
then the entire story again that Shamvar Rai has stated of 2012 and the entire procedure of spot postmortem or spot panchnama that was conducted by the Pain Police
Station. So you believe there are multiple versions?
Confession statement of the approver Shamvar Rai again goes for a drain. Either ways, the prosecution loses hands down.
Okay.
And this clearly establishes. Additionally, I want to say one thing. If you remember, the 2012 body that was found by Pain Police, a spot postmortem was conducted, and 4 teeth and the skull was cut open by a hacksaw of that particular body, and the remaining of the remains were buried at the same spot, and the samples or specimen that were collected were sent for forensic analysis.
Right.
However, the body that was exhumed in 2015, and there are medical records in the court now to establish that particular body of 2015 exhumed under the orders of the Honorable Court had magically regrown the tooth, and the skull was absolutely intact. It was not cut open. Now, do we need rocket science to establish that the 2012 and 2015 bodies were of two different persons?
Is this why you're using strong language against the prosecution?
That is not even an iota of evidence till date that can establish the guilt or even remotely hint towards the involvement of Indrani Mukerji towards any offense as alleged or at all. And therefore, I think that this is a very, very significant...
Now, Mr. Sangle, right, Mr. Sangle, you know, you've used harsh words against the police, the prosecution. You've called it a botched up story, a humbug case, fabricated report. Why do you believe that this is a botched up case?
I just mentioned they will have to establish. Now it is established beyond all reasonable doubt. See, what is the job of the prosecution under Indian law, the common law system, right? It is the job and the duty of the prosecution to prove the guilt of the accused beyond all reasonable doubts. Here, beyond all reasonable doubts, it is being established time and again that the prosecution or the case of the investigation is a humbug and a botched up investigation beyond all reasonable doubts. One, they don't know which exact body belongs to Sheena Bora. Second, they don't have any evidence to establish that there is any DNA analysis or DNA analysis was fabricated. Why was it fabricated? Why does the prosecution need to fabricate evidence against a particular accused? Now, one more instance we must understand. If you remember, when I cross-examined the fiancé of Sheena Bora, Rahul Mukerjea, right, in the box while on oath, he has admitted that he has exchanged more than 35 messages with Sheena
they were
Bora,
in touch
right,
till September.
On both of her cell phones in September of 2012.
That's right.
Now, if the prosecution is making an allegation that my client allegedly killed Sheena Bora in April 2012, how was Rahul Mukerji in touch with Sheena Bora, was meeting Sheena Bora, was picking her up from her office? There are intimate messages that have been exchanged between a boyfriend and a girlfriend. Now, these all questions, according to the last seen theory, that the prosecution is stating that Indrani was the person who was seen last, right? And who had seen her the last with Sheena Bora? It is Rahul Mukerji. But when Rahul Mukerji admits it in the witness box that he was in touch with Sheena Bora, right, through those 35 messages and was living with her in September 2012, where is the question of the alleged murder?
No, so what are you trying to say, Mr. Sangle?
The second instance, the prosecution and the investigating officers have to erase all parallel possibilities of creation of doubt. Here, the doubts are huge. When Rahul Mukerji says that he had fabricated a marriage certificate along with Sheena Bora, he has admitted this. We were successful in extracting this admission from him that he has fabricated a marriage certificate for the purpose of rent agreement for this minuscule thing. Then why did not you go to those 3 police stations which you are crying out loud for God's sake that they did not register your missing persons report? Tell those police officers, just
Mr. Sangle, let me ask you this.
Missing persons report that she is my legally wedded wife. This is a marriage certificate. You register that.
As someone,
report. Why did you not do that? And he says that he has seen them last at that Amarsan's Bandra place. He says that he.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Sangle. Look, Mr. Sangle, you speak your mind, and you've been upfront about the questions I've asked you. Even in the past, you've spoken up and taken straight questions. Let me ask you this. Many people want to know this. Do you believe, or are you saying, suggesting, indicating that Sheena's murder story is just fiction? That Sheena was never murdered?
Since you asked this very bluntly, I say yes, the Sheena Bora's murder is completely a work of fiction, and if there is a possibility, even 0.01% possibility on the doctrine of the last seen theory of the prosecution that something has happened to Sheena Bora, it is Rahul Mukerji who has to explain what happened to Sheena Bora, because he has admitted that he was in touch with Sheena Bora and living with her in September 2012. Now, if he was doing that, how did Sheena Bora die in the first place in 2012? And therefore, as per even the last seen theory, the burden has to shift upon the prosecution that if something had happened to Sheena, right, it was done by Indrani Mukerjea and not by Rahul Mukerji, because there is no question of any doubt now that Indrani Mukerji was anywhere involved in the alleged murder of Sheena Bora.
Now, Mr. Sangle, then now, according to you, who's behind this fabricated or the alleged fabricated case? Because, look what we've discussed so far. There have been too many twists in the case, and one more bizarre than the other. Who do you think is responsible?
I am again saying I am glad you asked this question, but this exactly is a point of parallel investigation on 3 points. One, who would be the person who would be most benefited from sending Indrani to either a prolonged incarceration or sending her to capital punishment for the alleged murder of her daughter? One. Second, who are the persons who actually fabricated this entire matter, right, to ensure that she does not get bail. Right now, there could be political influences, there could be bureaucratic influences, and there could be certain people from her family also who could be responsible.
So you're saying politicians are involved, bureaucrats are involved,
media barons, right? So we don't know what interest who had. And thirdly, and most importantly, we must see who is hiding from coming forth. Indrani Mukerjea, right from day one, has not even missed a single date before the court. She is the person who has applied for a day-to-day trial,
right,
based on which the Honorable Court passed an order that the matter will be conducted 4 times in a month. Who are the people who are actually disturbed because of this expedited trial? Right now, all these, and additionally, who are the people who fabricated documentary evidence?
No, you're dropping hints, you're not taking names.
A forensic expert. Now, the CBI should call in the forensic expert. They should take him in custody. They should ask him, who forced you to give a false and a fabricated DNA report to match Indrani's blood sample? That will open the names of the persons, and I assure you, that will open a Pandora's box and give altogether a different angle to this entire matter.
Now, Mr. Sangle, answer this question. If what you're saying is correct, or there is an iota of truth to this theory, that nothing happened to Sheena Bora, or that we don't know whether she is dead or alive, where is Sheena Bora? Where is she?
See, what happened to Sheena Bora, again, is a point of investigation. But like I said, when I say this, it is not a creation of my mind or fantasy or whims. When I say something based on proofs, based on evidence, based on documents that the prosecution themselves have filed in the court. This is not my story. This is the prosecution story which we are finding the elixir from. And therefore, every word that I say is a very responsibly made word, right? And this is an issue and a subject of parallel investigation that the CBI must conduct, and the CBI must also conduct an inquiry into the fact whether in fact a fraud was played upon the CBI, because till date no records show that any of the CBI officers themselves had physically, visually
do you believe watch up on part of Mumbai police?
So was there only a paper trail created without any skeleton or bone or remains that was sent to CBI? Because after the medical examination, they are sealed and sent back to the investigating agency,
right,
to enable them to file them or put them into the custody of the Honorable Court. Now, in whose custody these articles were, CBI's or courts, and from where did they come? Now, these parallel investigations need to be made.
Then, Mr. Sangle, let me ask you this: who do you hold responsible for this mess which is unfolding before us? Who must answer?
See, personally, that is neither my job nor I am an investigating officer, right? But one thing is sure, there is definitely a lot of unfairness that has gone to Indrani Mukerjea. My only request is that the zest, the enthusiasm and the energies and the proactiveness with which the entire media has conducted the media trial of Indrani Mukerjea should also equally responsibly and with equal zest and energy and enthusiasm also put forth before the public at large and the citizens of this country.
Which is why we have you speaking on Times Now.
Possibilities that go to the missing of Sheena Bora. Right? So whom do I think is responsible would be my personal opinion. I don't want to go into that. What matters is what the investigating officers conduct an investigation and whom they can put forth to bring them to the books of justice.
Let's see what happens next in this case, Mr. Ranjeet Sangle. Thank you for putting forth your views. You represent Indrani Mukerjea, who's out on bail. We don't know what happens next, but I can assure you that we will indeed question the people who must answer, because a crucial piece of evidence as Sangle disappeared in this case. Mr. Sangle, thank you for your time. Thank you for speaking to Times Now.